All right, thanks, guys. I went a perfect 5-0 in my personal bets on BarackPage.com yesterday. And that's going to improve our record to 3-0 in our last three $1.99 daily best plays on that very webpage. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that's being featured as my $1.99 daily best play here today, there's only one way to find out, and that's to sign up using the link in the description section below. And that's right, the daily best play costs just $1.99. We also improved to 3-0 in our last three board member tier package picks on that very same webpage. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here today. And the link for that board member tier package pick is also in the description section below. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content here today. We're going to start with Charlotte taking on Toronto. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. Toronto's minus 2.5 with the total at 221. But despite being favored at home here, Toronto lost 5 out of their last 7 ball games. And they're actually one of the worst in the NBA in shutting down the 3-ball at home. As a matter of fact, the Raptors are in the bottom 3 in the league in defensive three-point percentage at home. Meanwhile, offensively, these guys are scoring only 106 points per contest, and they rank in the bottom 5 in shooting from the field. They're taking on a high-powered Charlotte team who won 7 out of their last 9, and they successfully covered the number in 78% of those games. Now, the Hornets are scoring nearly 115 points a game, and they currently find themselves in the top 5 in shooting the 3-ball. P.J. Washington's drilling nearly 41% of his three-pointers this year, double-digit points a game for the role player. Meanwhile, Miles Bridges, he's leading the team in scoring with over 20 points a night. Now, injury-wise, Hayward and McDaniels, they are questionable to play here tonight. Meanwhile, for Toronto, Birch and Johnson are questionable for them. When it comes to the total on this one, the Raptors saw overs recently against the likes of Portland and Utah. They're also 14-10 to the over at the Scotiabank Arena. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Charlotte saw games with Orlando, Detroit, and Washington recently get over the line themselves. The Hornets are also 7-3 to the over in their last 10 meetings with the Raptors. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Charlotte plus 2.5 and the over 221. Next ball game, it is going to be Nuggets versus the Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Denver is minus 7 with the total at 219. But despite being a fairly, I would say generous number for Denver backers, these guys have struggled covering the point spread here recently. As a matter of fact, these guys failed to cover in their last 4 straight. And they're also just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8. Denver's also covering in just 9 out of 23 road games this year. And they've been pretty bad underneath the boards. The Nuggets currently rank in the bottom 3 in road offensive rebounding. They're taking on a Detroit Pistons squad who successfully covered the point spread in their last 3 straight themselves. And they also have themselves a winning record against the point spread at home. That's right, a winning record ATS at the Little Caesars Arena. Now, as a matter of fact, the Pistons are currently in the top 10 in the NBA in fewest second quarter points allowed at home. I know that's kind of a quirky trend, but if you're into prop betting and you want to bet that second quarter, you may want to think about what I just told you there. Now, scoring-wise, Cade Cunningham, he's averaging over 15.5 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Saddiq Bey, he's scoring over 15 points a game himself, along with 5 boards and 2.5 assists. Now, injury-wise, Olynyk, Jackson, and Garza, they are questionable for Detroit. Meanwhile, for Denver on the other side of things, Green, Howard, and Highland, they are listed as questionable for them. Meanwhile, Jamal Murray, of course, he's still out and definitely with that knee. Just wanted to remind you guys of that, in case you thought I forgot. But anyway, total-wise, Denver went 6-1 to the under in their last 7 contests on the road. Meanwhile, Detroit, on the other side of things, they went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings themselves. And those were unders against the likes of Utah, Golden State, and Toronto. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Detroit +7 in the under 219. Next matchup, it is going to be Clippers versus the Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Washington is -5, totals 216.5. Now, the Wizards do have a winning record at home, and they've done a fairly nice job shooting the basketball from the field. Having said that, though, these guys are on a 3-game losing streak, and they've been one of the worst covering teams in the NBA lately. Washington failed to cover in 9 out of their last 10. They currently find themselves in the bottom 3 in the league in shooting the 3 ball. They're taking on a Clipper team who covered in 3 out of their last 4 themselves. And they also do a pretty nice job on the defensive end of the court. LA's allowing only 106 points a game. And they're currently in the top 5 in the NBA in guarding the 3 ball. So a pretty bad matchup there for Washington backers. Scoring-wise, Reggie Jackson, he's averaging over 16.5 points a game, along with 3 boards and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Luke Kennard, he's drilling 43% of his 3 balls. He's also averaging nearly a dozen points a game. As a matter of fact, the Clippers are currently in the top 10 in shooting the 3 ball on the road. Now, injury-wise, Preston is questionable for Los Angeles. And when it comes to the total in this one, LA saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games get over the posted number. They also went 80% to the over in their last 10 meetings with the Wizards. Meanwhile, Washington saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the posted total themselves. And those were overs against the likes of Brooklyn, Portland, and Orlando. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers +5 in the over 216.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Pelicans versus the Sixers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Philadelphia is -9, totals 215.5. Now, the Sixers did get the W in 7 out of their last 10 ball games. They also went 70% against the point spread during that span. Joel Embiid, he's averaging over 28.5 points a night, along with double-digit rebounds. Now, Joel is also drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Tobias Harris, he's averaging over 18 points a game himself, along with 7 boards and 3 assists. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, Philly's allowing only 105 points a game, and they actually find themselves in the top 10 in the NBA in fewest home points allowed. They're taking on a Pelicans team who's in the second of a back-to-back here in this game. And equally as troubling, New Orleans is just 7-17 straight up on the road this season going into yesterday's action. Sorry, I kind of did the research for this game yesterday as before New Orleans played. But anyway, they covered the point spread in just 33% of their road contests before yesterday's action. Now, the Pels are scoring only 102 points a night in their road trips. And they actually find themselves in the bottom 5 in shooting from the field away from home. Now, injury-wise, Brandon Ingram and Devontae Graham, they are both questionable to play here tonight. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, Milton and Thibault, they're both still out indefinitely for them. Danny Green, he's also questionable as well. And Seth Curry, he's going to sit this one out here tonight. Now, total-wise, Philly 65% to the under at the Wells Fargo Center. Meanwhile, New Orleans went 15-9 to the under in their road games themselves. I'm going to lean toward Philadelphia -9 in the under 215.5. Next contest should be a pretty good one here. I'm talking about the Lakers versus the Nets, 7:30 Eastern start time. The Lakers are -3.5 on the road with a total at 226. Now, the Lakers have got the W in 2 out of their last 4. And they've done a real nice job of scoring with the basketball this year. LA currently finds themselves in the top 10 in the NBA in both scoring and field goal percentage. LeBron James is averaging 29 points a game, along with 7 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Russell Westbrook, he's scoring over 18.5 points a night himself, along with 8 rebounds and 7 assists. And of course, when it comes to rebounding the basketball here, the Lakers are in the top 10 in offensive boards on the road. They're taking on a Brooklyn team who, they're going to have no Millsap, no Harris, and of course no Kyrie because they're playing at home. And of course, Claxton, he's also battling a hammy, so keep an eye on him. Now, the Nets have failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10 ball games, and they're actually amongst the worst home covering teams in the NBA. Brooklyn failed to cover in 18 of 23 home games this year, and that's good for a measly 21% in that particular category. When these guys are home, they don't cash a whole lot of tickets, so just keep that in mind. Now, the Nets also, believe it or not, they don't shoot well from three land at the Barclays Center either. They're making only 31% of their long balls in front of the Brooklyn faithful. Now, injury-wise, once again, Claxton is questionable. Millsap, Harris, and Kyrie are out. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles on the other side, Nunn and Doumbouya are both still out as well. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Lakers saw their last 2 straight get over the posted number. They also went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, Brooklyn saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the total themselves, and those were overs against the likes of Minnesota, Washington, and OKC during that span. I'm going to lean toward the LA Lakers minus 3.5 and the over 226. Next ball game, it is going to be Kings versus the Celtics, 7:30 Eastern start time. Boston is minus 8.5 with the total at 218 and a hook. And although the Celtics are favored by nearly double digits in this one, they've actually done a poor job of covering the point spread at home this year. The Celtics got the job done in just 10 of 25 at the Garden, and they're scoring just 106 points a night in front of their home fans. Now, they're taking on a Sacramento team who certainly has no problem scoring on the road. And as a matter of fact, they are in the top 10 in the NBA in road offensive points per game. Now, Harrison Barnes, he's been pretty good shooting from three land. He's actually making 42% of his three balls this year, and he's averaging over 16.5 points a game. Meanwhile, teammate Tyrese Halliburton, he's drilling 44% of his three-pointers himself. He's also averaging 14 points a night. Now, rebounding-wise, the Kings also find themselves in the top 3 in offensive boards on the road. When it comes to the injury report, De'Aaron Fox is questionable with an ankle. Meanwhile, for Boston on the other side, Bol is still out with a foot injury. When it comes to the number in this one, Boston, they've seen overs against Portland, Chicago, and Philadelphia recently. Meanwhile, Sacramento's 65% to the over on the road. I'm going to lean towards Sacramento plus 8.5 and the over 218 and a hook. Next matchup, it is going to be Spurs versus the Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. San Antonio's minus 3.5 with the total at 235. Now, San Antonio has a winning record against the spread on the road. And they also do a fairly nice job of rebounding away from home as well. Having said that, though, the Spurs are actually in the bottom 5 in defensive rebounding on the road. And they failed to cover the point spread in 11 out of their last 14. Now, they're taking on a Houston squad who's been pretty good against the point spread themselves recently. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 outings. And they're also in the top 5 in fourth quarter scoring. Now, Christian Wood, he's averaging 17.5 points a game, along with double-digit rebounds. Meanwhile, Eric Gordon, he's shooting over 45% from three land. He's also averaging nearly 15 points a night. Now, total-wise, the Rockets have gone 60% to the over at home this season. And they saw contests recently with Sacramento, Minnesota, and this very San Antonio team get over the line. Meanwhile, the Spurs, on the other side of things, they've seen overs recently against the likes of Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Brooklyn themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 3.5 and the over 235. Next contest, Mavericks versus the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Now, this game's currently off the board. I believe it is now Warriors minus 3, but obviously when I was doing the research and preparing the show here today, the game was actually off the board. So we're going to handicap it as if it's still off the board. Really don't think it's going to end up mattering, but regardless of the line, I mean, we are still looking at a Warriors team who's 21-4 straight up at home this year, and they successfully covered the point spread in 68% of those home contests. Now, the Warriors currently lead the entire NBA in defensive field goal percentage. They're actually limiting their competition to just 41% shooting from the field at home. And they're also giving up only 99 points a game at the Chase Center. Now, scoring-wise, Steph Curry's averaging 26 points a game, along with 5 boards and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins, he's scoring over 18 points a night himself, along with 4 boards and a couple assists as well. Now, rebounding-wise, the Warriors are in the top 5 in offensive boards per contest. They're taking on a Dallas club who failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 themselves. The Mavs have also been little threat shooting the 3-ball this season. They're making only 32% of their 3-pointers. And they also rank in the bottom 5 in offensive 3-point percentage on the road. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, Brown and Ntilikina, they are listed as questionable for Dallas. Meanwhile, for the Warriors on the other side of things, Green and Wiseman, they are still out indefinitely for them. Klay Thompson, he's also questionable with knee soreness. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Golden State winning this one outright for some money line cash. And of course, when that line comes out, hopefully that money line price won't be too expensive. All right, next and final matchup of the show, it is going to be Timberwolves versus the Blazers, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's minus 3.5 with the total at 228. Now, Minnesota got the W in 7 out of their last 10 outings, and they're one of the best scoring teams on the road in the league. Minnesota's averaging 115 points a night when they travel. And of course, they're led by Karl Anthony Towns, who's scoring over 24 points a game. And he's also drilling 40% of his 3 balls. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards, he's dropping over 22 points a night himself, along with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. And of course, when it comes to guarding the 3 ball, Minnesota finds themselves in the top 10 in the NBA in defensive 3-point percentage. Now, they're taking on a Portland squad who's going to work without Larry Nance and possibly Norman Powell. Now, Smith and Little, they're also listed as questionable for the Blazers. And, of course, Damian Lillard and Cody Zeller are both still out. Actually, it looks like Damian Lillard is in no rush to return. Was kind of diving into that a little bit yesterday. And a lot of Lillard quotes is insinuating he's not in a rush to come back. He probably hopes he gets traded by the end of the deadline. But anyway, defensively, the Blazers are amongst the worst defensive teams in the game right now. They're actually dead last in guarding the 3 ball. And they're also letting their opponents make nearly 48% of their field goals against them. That's kind of like a college basketball stat there. But anyway, total-wise, Portland saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the posted number. Meanwhile, Minnesota's a staggering 17-6 to the over when they travel. Plenty of overs for the T-Wolves away from home. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Minnesota minus 3.5 and the over 228. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are 3-0 in our last 3 $1.99 daily best plays. I like Charlotte plus 2.5 over 221. Detroit plus 7 under 219. LA Clippers plus 5 over 216.5. Philadelphia minus 9 under 215 and a hook. LA Lakers minus 3.5 over 226. Sacramento plus 8.5 over 218 and a hook. Houston plus 3.5 over 235. I like the Golden State Warriors winning that one outright for some money line cash. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are also 3-0 in our last 3 board member tier package picks on brockpage.com as well. And board members get access to every single pick that I give out on my website all the way through the end of January. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota minus 3.5 in the over 228. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you are going to get access to that content all the way through the end of January. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And just another reminder, guys, if you end up signing up for my board member tier package, not only are we red hot in those board member tier picks, but board members get access to every single pick that I give out on that website. We utilize the Patreon platform, and the way it breaks down, there's different tiers, different levels of membership that you can sign up to. And board members are at the top. It's the best membership. So all the packages that are lesser expensive than the board member tier, all the packages that are underneath the board member tier, you actually get free when you purchase the board member package. So not only are you going to get just the board member tier pick, you're going to get access to every other package absolutely free. It's included in your purchase. So essentially you're going to get 5 to 6 picks every single day, games that I'm personally betting on. So we're going to be betting together. But anyway, guys, most importantly, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.